Demo, not for broadcast. Property of WABC New York.
If you're thinking about changing schools, why wait? At Manhattan University, love those guys. You don't have to start over. With transfer-friendly pathways, your credits count, and you keep moving forward. From day one, you're part of Jasper Nation, preparing for the real world. And with New York City just a train away, opportunity is everywhere. Ready to move forward without missing a step? Visit manhattan.edu/transfer and enroll today. Manhattan University. Don't start over. Move forward.
The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. I just am conducting a poll right now of President Trump and how he's doing, particularly with the ICE thing. And I'll let you know the information as soon as I get it on next week's show. I'll tell you whatever I can. But the concept behind the poll is that Trump is frustrated because the economy is doing so well. And
nobody sees it.
Doesn't get credit for it. And my thesis is that he's saying, what do you think of the inflation? What do you think of unemployment? What do you think of immigration? And the questions implicitly ask him to rate himself against utopia, against perfection. Well, there is unemployment, there is inflation, there's not perfection. So this poll tests if the Democrats had won and Harris were the president, do you think that immigration would be worse? Do you think that inflation would be worse? Do you think unemployment would be worse? And measure him against a hypothetical so you can take him into the real world with this kind of comparison. And I'm hoping that it shows that that is markedly different than measuring him simply against utopia. How do you think he did? I'll keep you posted on this. The poll is in the field right now.
You know, the questionnaire isn't from the media. It's from you.
Yeah.
And you're asking these people honestly and truthfully. The media is the reason why people don't see it.
Well, I have a bunch of responses, and we'll see if that's what people say. Well, now, for the first story today, I want to talk about the most evil thing I have heard in a long time.
Listen, this is the epitome of evil. This is beyond evil if there's such a thing. California faked hospice workers. They con patients into thinking they're dying. This is horrible. You ready for this? The biggest fraud in L.A. involves some 100 fake hospice providers who convinced 100,000 patients, 100,000 people, that they were dying in order to enroll them in their care with taxpayer dollars. Oz says, Dr. Oz, this is both cruel and a danger to life. I say it's evil. This is so disgusting. If you're put into hospice, you could actually give up the rest of your health care protection, and you don't have access to regular Medicare anymore. People are dying because they can't get care because they were falsely tricked into believing that they needed hospice. Bill Esseley, I don't know if I said his name right, the top federal prosecutor in Los Angeles, says many hospices were reporting survival rates of 100% for the facility that were meant to be for the end of life. They should be called Lazarus centers. Who's at fault? Esseley, I think that's how you say it, blames Governor Gavin Newsom. He has resigned over more fraud than I think. Right? He has reigned over more fraud than I think we've ever seen in American history. This is disgusting. This is really evil.
That were ill and were old and were maybe a little compromised mentally, and convinced them that they were dying and that they had to be transferred to a hospice program. And in the hospice, they lost their Medicare protection, they lost their health care, and everybody waited for them to die, but they didn't die.
And this is just about putting money in your pocket. When I think about it, you know, I'm realistic with this whole bunch of bull, whatever. What are they putting in their pocket? Some people, that a hospice guy or $1,000, $10,000, even $100,000. You're telling someone they're going to die, and you make their life worse, and their whole family. For what are you making? $10,000 or $100,000? That's just a horrible thing to happen.
And it goes beyond the level of welfare fraud. It's a fraud against humanity.
Right.
Just disgusting.
Disgusting. Okay, so. Ready for the next thing?
Yeah.
U.S. steel muscles past Japan on strength of Trump tariffs. This is great. For the first time in more than a quarter century, the United States has muscled past Japan in steel production, a symbolic and economic milestone fueled by President Trump's aggressive tariff regime and a surging appetite for steel from America's booming artificial intelligence build-out. U.S. crude steel output climbed 3.1% in 2025 to 82 million tons, according to the World Steel Association, vaulting the U.S. into third place globally behind only China and India. It marked the first time since 1999 that American mills outproduced Japan, ending decades of relative decline and signaling a dramatic shift up in the global steel landscape. The revival has Trump's fingerprint all over it. In March, his administration imposed an additional 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminium, then doubled down in June by lifting the levy to 50%. With foreign steel suddenly far more expensive and availability less certain, U.S. manufacturers ramped up output to meet rising domestic demand. Steel prices have surged as a result. Hot-rolled steel coils, a key input for manufacturing and construction, hit $983 per ton as of January 12th, the highest level since May and nearly double the global export price, according to steel benchmarkers. Prices are up roughly 30% from January of 25 last year when Trump began a second term. Yet higher prices have not scared buyers away, including foreign ones. Instead, tariffs have created a protected high-margin market where steel makers can invest with confidence. U.S. domestic steel shipments rose 5% this year on a year in November. I don't know what that just said, Dick. Data from the American Iron and Steel Institute show underscoring the strength of underlying demand. A major driver is the AI boom. Steel demand for data centers and power generation facilities has surged as tech companies race to build the infrastructure needed to support the artificial intelligence.
Washington specializes in artificial stupidity.
Right.
It should be called AS.
ASS.
ASS, yeah.
Hold on, but before we go any further, I just want to give you the call-in number is 800-848-9222. That's 800-848-9222. Okay.
This is just like it was during the Clinton years. The Federal Reserve kept warning about inflation. The economy kept growing. There wasn't signs of inflation. And it turned out that the Internet had completely changed everything, and productivity had soared, and office workers and other people were incredibly productive. And it took a while for the Fed to realize that this was happening and that this was not just excess demand causing inflation. That's what's happening here, but it's with AI. And this is changing the way we produce goods and services to a point where the normal laws of economics don't apply. And thank goodness the new Federal Reserve Chairman, what's his name, Walsh, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is going to understand that.
You know, it's a twofer. It's more than a twofer with this AI. Number one, it is, as I'm starting to realize, definitely helping productivity in so many ways. Just like you said, when you do a story, you hit AI, it gives you a lot of stuff. Plus, it takes so much electricity to run these AI systems that there's money to be made with the government and everyone to build these facilities with the rare earth minerals and different things. So
now, going back to the Stone Age, the Minnesota hotel unions are targeting ICE. And what they're doing is going after the hotels, the car rental services, Hilton Hotels, Enterprise Car Rentals, that the ICE agents have been using. And there's been increasing violence over the housing of federal agents. The way they think about this is that this is an offensive on the part of an ICE campaign. And it's there's a lot of different types of corporate campaigns. The Enterprise and Hilton campaigns really focus on some of the logistical ways that ICE operates. It sort of comes from the logic of when ICE says here, they need places to sleep, they need places to eat, they need ways to get around, and what they're doing is physically trying to interrupt it so that they can kick them out. It's part really of the civil war that the left has declared against ICE. It's like bombing Fort Sumter. But the point is that ICE is being handicapped by this, and they should not be handicapped by the efforts of American unions. In the meantime, the story that Doug was talking about steel is not unique to steel. Trump tariffs have boosted aluminum production, too. For nearly half a century, the U.S. failed to build a single new primary aluminum smelter, not one. That drought ended now in Enola, Oklahoma, and for one simple reason, President Trump's tariffs work. Century Aluminum, the largest producer of primary aluminum in the U.S., has announced a partnership with Emirates Global Aluminum to build the first U.S. primary aluminum production facility since 1980. Aluminum is not a luxury metal. It's a strategic metal used in modern defense and industrial power. Fighter jets, armored vehicles, naval vessels, satellites, missiles, drones, ammo, and so on, all depend on secure supplies of aluminum. But today, 85% of America's aluminum needs are met by imports. And as China recently slapped export controls on aluminum, it really hurt the United States. Trump got this reality. In 2018, he imposed aluminum tariffs under Section 232 of the Trade Act, a statute designed explicitly to protect national security from harmful foreign imports. Those tariffs halted the free fall of domestic aluminum production and saved the U.S. smelters that were days away from being closed. And they sent a clear message. America would no longer offshore the metals that defend the republic. Upon returning to office, Trump stopped the carnage. Elections matter. He raised aluminum tariffs to 50% and imposed a firm no exclusions, no exemptions policy. That move restored credibility to U.S. trade enforcement and sent an unmistakable signal. America would no longer tolerate death by loophole. The new Trump tariff regime also closed a long-abused vulnerability, which was permitting re-export of aluminum made abroad. And
basically, covered products include aluminum sheets, plate, extrusion, wire, foil. They all and can stock and other derivatives made directly from aluminum.
The new Trump rules also allow domestic producers to petition to add additional products as market conditions change. That is dynamic enforcement, not static paperwork. It closes the loopholes in real time and restores confidence that billions invested in American smelting capacity will not be undercut by foreign cheating. So this project demonstrates demolishes one of the central myths of the globalist era, that tariffs repel investment. In reality, smart tariffs attract the right investment, long-term capital-intensive job-creating investment that commits to America rather than exploits it. That isn't protectionism. That is Trump's economic statecraft.
Unbelievable. Now, we want to talk about this mass shooting in Maine. Somalis stole funds donated for victims. In October 25, 2023, a man went on a shooting rampage at a bowling alley and a restaurant in Lewiston, Maine, which left 18 dead and 13 more injured, the biggest mass shooting in the state's history. In the weeks following, thousands of donations poured in from across the state and country to support the survivors and the victims' families, totaling $6.6 million. The 6,000 to 10,000 Somalis who live in Maine had years set up a complex fraud network with the help of Democrats. When the $6.6 million in donations arrived, Somalis were ready to collect, despite the fact that no Somali was harmed during the shooting.
A woman was shot in the arm during the shooting.
Jennifer Zanka.
And she said she learned that the NGOs, non-government organizations, many owned by Somalis, received more funding than she did, while she faced an unpaid $93,000 hospital bill that her insurance denied.
She said, I'm torn between gratitude for the support, then angered when I was facing the $93,000 outstanding bill that was denied by insurance. In the wake of the October 25th, 2023 mass shooting in Lewiston, thousands of Mainers and donors across the country collectively contributed that $6.6 to support the victims and the family.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, right. More than 2 years later, questions persist about where almost a third of those funds have gone. Survivors and family members were told they would receive some of the money, yet it appears that Somalis who were not victims of the shooting have skimmed off tens of thousands. This is horrible. Another horrible thing.
Welcome to America. We're so happy you guys are here.
Yeah, unbelievable. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Alex Pretty was on a list for harassing ICE agents before. When we come back.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. You know, ICE and the efforts against ICE in Minneapolis and the fabrication of this horrible ICE suppression and Gestapo-like tactics is suddenly becoming real, and we're understanding how phony it is.
It's funded.
It's far worse than the George Floyd situation.
Yes.
It turns out that Alex Pretty, who was one of the people who was killed for harassing ICE agents, had a long history of going after ICE agents and harassing them, and indeed had suffered a broken rib in an earlier confrontation with ICE the week before he was shot.
Now, Dick, I asked Roxana to look into this, the credibility of this, where they said, I've heard, and we haven't looked it up to see how real it is, that there's funding going to these people when they do something like this. They get like $100,000.
Yeah, but maybe
I don't know.
Palestinians do with pay to slay.
Right, but I don't know that yet. I'm not sure about that, but we're looking into that. And if that's real, they're going to follow that money, and they're going to find out who's paying that jack.
I think that increasingly the anti-ICE demonstrations have revealed the true face of the left.
Sure.
Which is that they're trying to stop government from doing its job, and that they're powered by people who want to stay here illegally.
And
it's a good thing going and commit all kinds of massive fraud while they're here and could care less.
And it also shows basically there's big funding and there's useful idiots. You know, you have both. You have the big funding and we don't know. Is it George Soros? Is it these other guys? And we're going to find out about it because they are tracking them now. And you got the useful idiots that just believe anything they, divide and conquer type of thing.
You have two examples, the California hospice stuff.
Oh, God.
And this Lewiston, Maine stuff, where the American people were so generous and so loving and positive, and they opened their wallets and gave money or enrolled people in medical care, and then the fraudsters, who at the moment were Somalis, exploited the system and made tens of millions of dollars from it.
Just the mindset of such evil people. people with negative view on life in general. Just that mindset is so hard for me to, and I know it. I see it. There's wars. There's Putin. There's, people getting killed.
This would be a good segue for On the Rocks.
This would be perfect for On the
Rocks. Here.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
We need to hear more of you.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Rox. How you doing?
I'm doing well, but I am following that to see where that ends. And interesting paralleling all the ICE trauma over there with the fraud. It happened, parallel. Okay. So I'm beginning a little bit different subject. True freedom is the capacity to soar in accordance with one's true character, to be altogether oneself, to be self-determined and not subject to outside coercion. Many in the United States and across the globe have wondered, how has President Donald Trump's personality and leadership in his second presidency evolved to foster a more resilient and effective approach to governance? We all are aware of the history, the untruths and tales woven, the destruction that stole reputation and even some lives, the years it took to correct, but also how truth eventually prevailed. To say that President Trump was blindsided would be an understatement. How does a man rise from such challenges, and what drives his unwavering determination to create positive change? How does a man return, not defeated, but turbocharged? Who still remains razor-focused, stronger, wiser, and more resilient? President Trump's approach to governing is now widely recognized as a unique blend of negotiation and diplomacy, a transactional style, still rooted in the principles of his art of the deal. This method has become to be known now as negotiator-in-chief, offering peace worldwide where there's a seat for all at the table. But if you choose not to, one must ask, will there be consequences? In essence, while his core combative nature perhaps remains consistent, his approach has evolved from trying to navigate the Washington establishment to rewiring global relationships. Although President Trump is seen by many as a true visionary, he has undoubtedly become history's president of transformation. So again, when asked the question, how has Trump's demeanor and delivery changed? I'll sum it up with a quote I found by Secretary Scott Bessent. The chief components of the Trump economic agenda, tariffs, tax cuts, deregulation, are not standalone policies. They are interlocking parts of an engine designed to drive economic growth and domestic manufacturing. The bottom line is where President Trump began, to make America great again. MAGA.
What an amazing summary. So true. And I've noticed in my own dealings with Trump that the Trump of the first term, which was kind of get your own way, bull your way through, damn the consequences, the hell with everybody who opposes you, make them enemies, not just opponents, has changed. And now there's a deal-making approach where he basically does not sacrifice principle, but achieves objectives. A good example of this is in Minneapolis, where Trump basically said, look, they are defying rule of law, they are harassing ICE agents, but there are 1,350 people who are here illegally in Minnesota jails right now, and we can't touch them because they're protected by the sanctuary city policies.
Right.
Open those prisons up, let the ICE agents in, let them take the illegal immigrants out, and then the ones that are left are not dangerous. It's a little bit like highway stops for speeding and traffic violations. I've always said, okay, stop them, but don't do it in the middle of I-95. Get their license information from photographs and then go and visit them at home later and exact your penalties. And when you arrest somebody in the middle of the street in downtown Minneapolis, you're inviting conflict, you're inviting chaos. And Trump is increasingly understanding the better part of valor is to get the same objective. Don't relent at all, but do it in a sensible way.
I agree, Dick, and I also feel this him offering an olive branch for negotiating for the better good is another style that you see more and more with him dealing with our governors and mayors and things that are happening in the cities that you just want to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there is vengeance and there is justice in the world. You know the guys and women who voted to impeach and remove Donald Trump from office at the end of his first term, protesting the January 6th riots in the Capitol, which turned out were largely fomented and encouraged by FBI agents masquerading as civilian demonstrators. Well, Donald Trump has tracked those guys down one after the other, and has assured that each one is facing a primary in the Republican Party or a tough opposition from the Democrats without adequate funding from the Republicans. And as a result of Donald Trump's systematic vigilance in going after those guys, every single one of them, except for Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, has lost their seats, and their political career is over.
Do you think she's next?
Well, it's hard to do it with her because
Alaska.
What?
That's all right.
Because we have a history with her of her running as an independent. But it is amazing. There are 30 would-be blowhards and braggarts who jumped on Donald Trump all over him after January 6th. Did not realize that these that the demonstrations were egged on by the FBI, and instead voted to throw Trump out of office. And every one of those people, 29 of them, have lost office and have lost their political careers. God bless them.
I think let's go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? Trump scales back immigration arrests?
No, we did that already.
Okay.
That's what's going on in Minneapolis. The interesting thing now is that Khomeini
is hiding.
The leader of Iran. He's living in an underground shelter, according to a website.
All right, we're going to go to break. I'm going to look for him, and when we come back, hopefully I got him by the neck.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hi, welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Ayatollah Khomeini has joined Maduro in hiding, buried in a bunker somewhere.
They're hanging out. As the American Armada approaches, Iranian Supreme Leader Khomeini is now living in an underground rat hole, like, what was his name?
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah. In a shelter in Tehran, according to the website in Iranian. Khomeini moved after Iranian officials assessed an increased risk of potential U.S. attack, the site reported, citing sources it did not name. The U.S. force is moving in amid new details that are emerging about the Iranian government's crackdown on protesters earlier this month. Iran's International said the government used chemical weapons on protesters that caused breathing difficulties. What was fired was not tear gas, one protester said. People collapsed. Another said Iranian officials have unofficially said up to 30,000 people may have been killed in the crackdown, according to the Time. The government has officially admitted to killing 3,117 people, while a human rights group put the death toll at 5,400 deaths, with 17,031 deaths under investigation. So either way, 2 deaths are too many, but I don't know what that number is, but Khomeini, Warriors come out to play.
Yeah, that's right.
Warriors come out to play with the clicking of the bottles. That was some freaky stuff in that movie. All right, Dick.
Okay.
We finally got our computers set right.
There is a new poll that shows a big swing among Latinos in favor of Trump. The Emerson College poll released on Friday found that 43% of Hispanic or Latino voters approve of Trump compared to 45% who disapprove. That's a huge change from December when 58% disapproved and only 28% approved. So there's been a gigantic change in Trump's rating among Latinos over the last 3 months. And the question is a swing of 15 points and may suggest strong approval of his work on illegal immigration, as opposed to what Democrats believe to be the case. I think there's something else at work here, because there's a sea change among Latinos. We don't recognize it because we're not in touch with that community as much as we could be. But this is an enormous shift. I think a big part of it is Maduro and the way Trump has tracked down these communist regimes in the Caribbean. I think when Cuba falls, which I think will happen soon, that's going to be a like thing. And it's becoming, this was the real contribution of Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. As a senator, he zeroed in on opposing these communist regimes. And Secretary of State, he's done a wonderful job of focusing our resources on it. And I think what you're seeing here is the political outcome of that.
You know, also, I've said this many times, it's not a bluff. When Trump says, I got some ships out there and you're looking at your beach, we're not looking at the girls, we're going to come and get you. And he means it. And people know it. So that's what they're doing. They feel the heat. Listen, let's jump to...
It's a great line, by the way, by Everett Dirksen. When they feel the heat, they see the light.
That's good. All right, listen, we're going to jump to this anti-fraud czar. Because we have someone on the phone we're going to talk to in a minute. President Trump has decided to do something about this. On Wednesday, he took this to Truth Social platform to announce a new appointment and a new division at the Department of Justice. The president writes, I am pleased to nominate Colin McDonald to serve as the first ever Assistant Attorney General for National Fraud Enforcement, a new division at the Department of Justice, which I created to catch and stop fraudsters that have been stealing from the American people. My administration has uncovered fraud schemes in states like Minnesota, as we know, and California, where these thieves have stolen hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars. Colin McDonald is a very smart, tough, and highly respected America First federal prosecutor who has successfully delivered justice in some of the most difficult and high-stakes cases of our country has ever seen. Together we will end the fraud and restore integrity to our federal programs. Congratulations, Colin. Stop the scams. Now, we have on the phone Joe Furlong, who is involved in this a lot, not the Justice Department, but he's in New York City. Joe, you on the phone? Let's talk.
Yes, I was in New York City investigator for fraud division, and I detected, identified, and prevented fraud. We went after fraud. The biggest that we have to go after right now, and I hope that Colin McDonald's listening as well as Trump, is we got to go after the food stamp trafficking. These electronic transaction machines, the Middle Eastern people that are basically buying these bodegas and transferring the benefit money through the electronic benefit transaction machine. So if you have 400 and you tell them, listen, give me 100 cash, they wind up benefiting with 3 in their pocket. This is hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that are not being basically overseen, and I think if we get somebody out there that's going to do the job and basically do it in every state and have these investigators in the federal government overseeing the state and city agencies that are running these basically investigation departments and put these people in place, we're going to stop this in its tracks.
How many people do you think?
Hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars.
How many investigators? You mentioned this to me earlier. Just say it. You want 100? How many?
You need at least 100 to 200 investigators for each state to oversee these programs, to sure that basically detecting and identifying that these fraud actions are being taken. The other thing that they have to do, which basically was in place, but they took it out, and again, I hope Colin is listening, McDonald, as well as President Trump, you have to get back in place finger imaging so they don't have to be collecting in multiple states. You know, you come to New York, then you go to...
We have a certain finger in mind for these guys.
Yeah, Dick, he said there's a...
We have a certain finger we want to give these guys.
Yeah, but if you do finger imaging, you're going to stop them in infection. Because what's going to happen is Trump has the power with the executive order that he could put it in place. You have to know if you're going to collect federal money, it's going to be mandated. We need your finger imaging so we know that this is not happening in multiple states.
That's brilliant. And, you know, just the background of this. In the Clinton years, food stamps were just stamps, and then they were increasingly benefit card. And then somebody, I think it was Gore, came up with the idea of why don't we do this electronically, like a cash card, like a debit card.
Correct.
And he put that in place and worked very well. And now the fraudsters are scamming that. And that's become a leading source of welfare fraud. And
correct.
And what Joe is suggesting is a serious effort to crack down on that. And if you needed any proof of how low these people can go, think about the story we opened with in the hospice area of people committing fraud on dying patients to convince them that they were going to die. That they should
need hospice.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But I have to tell you, Dick, if this food stamp trafficking keeps on going and there's no oversight on it, which there isn't, it's going to be all over. It's in Georgia. It's in California. It's in New York City. It's all over. You got to get to the bottom of it. And if you get a guy like Colin McDonald, who's basically going to take over these programs, and say,
all right, Joe. Listen, we're going to
have to go after it.
We're going to do this,
Joe. I'm pretty sure that President Trump is either listening right now, or in any case, I will call him and tell him. And I'm going to try to arrange. I'm going to try to arrange for him to be in touch with you and follow that up. I think the idea of the finger imaging being a crucial element of food stamp benefit collection is very important, and I think we need to do that.
It's great. Great idea, Joe. I'm glad I bumped into you that day. And listen, we're going to have you on again, but next time try to get a phone that works a little better because you're breaking up all over the place. Joe, thank you very much. Unless you got something else you want to tell us.
No, that's pretty much most of it, and I got more to say. I mean, I hope one day, if there's any possibility, I'd love to come in and speak to you.
Yeah. Okay, we'll work on that.
We will, Joe. When we're in New York, we'll have you at the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Appreciate it so much.
We got the best president in the White House.
Without a doubt.
Interesting, the idea of finger imaging being part of the food stamp program. The Census Bureau just reported that there are 3 million fewer immigrants living in the United States. That's legal and illegal immigrants. And it's the largest negative net migration in recent American history. And one of the big reasons crime is down in the country is because there are fewer criminals, because Trump has thrown 3 million people out of the country. And that has obviously reduced the crime rate. And it's an enormous thing, and it's a permanent reduction. One of the byproducts of deporting as many people as he has is that U.S. drug overdose rates have been plummeting under the Trump administration as he cracks down on the southern border. There are 20% fewer U.S. drug overdoses this year than before Trump took office.
There's a plus.
So a very big plus. The Trump's immigration stuff ripples throughout the country. It reduces the crime rate. It reduces school crowding. It reduces traffic accidents. It has all kinds of positive effects, and they're only now beginning to play themselves out.
Why don't we go to the phone and go to Sandra from New Jersey. Hi, Sandra. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing very well. I wanted to share 2 things that are on my mind. One is very good news. There's a judge. She's like the first judge to interpret the law instead of stretching it beyond recognition.
Mm-hmm.
She basically said that the ICE people have to continue doing what they're doing in Minneapolis. It's very important to enforce the law and public safety, and they basically denied that they wanted a ban on the ICE people over there. So she said, no, it's not going to work.
Clear that the left is using the anti-ICE stuff to mobilize a constituency, and it's heavily flavored by people who shouldn't be in the country in the first place. And I think that's very clear. And that decision, I think, really helps it. Well, she got this.
Well, her name is Judge, just so you know, Catherine Menendez, if anybody wants to look her up. The second thing, and this really bothers me, Dick and Doug, you know how in the cabs they have those cute little TVs?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they often have Newsmax on there, and I think that's wonderful for passengers to sit there and maybe hear something good from a conservative point of view. Guess what? Mandani wants to get that off the cars. Now, that's
just the Newsmax conservative people ads or everything?
The Newsmax.
It's not ads, it's programming. Yeah.
Right. He wants that off their little TVs. To me, that's censorship, and that reminds me of how they wanted to get rid of AM radio altogether. Look,
right.
You have to resist new beginnings. We can't let this little character have his way and start, censoring.
Well, I think, Sandra, I believe that we are going to let him have his way, and we're going to let him destroy that city for 8 months or a year. I really believe that's going to happen because it's the only way people are going to say, why did I vote for this guy, and I got to vote for somebody. I think that's what Trump is doing. I think that's what we should. I live in the city. We live there, and I walk it every day, but what are you going to do? You're going to keep, they're still trying to elect these weirdos. We have another topic coming up where
I just want to say one more thing. God bless Bruce Blakeman. He will be the checks and balances that we need in New York City.
We'll have him on soon.
Maybe next week. Yeah. We're thinking about him. And Tina Forte running against AOC again, if she even runs.
Well, I think AOC is not going to run. I think she'll run against Schumer.
I know, you said that. Thank you so much, Sandra. You're fantastic.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Welfare reform, Palestinian style. In 2025...
It's not funny. I'm laughing.
In 2025, the Palestinian Authority paid out $200 million to widows and families of terrorists. It's called pay to slay. And they're giving these terrorists money in return for killing Jews.
Oh,
and it came to $200 million last year. Fortunately, the United States is cutting off the flow of money, and it's about time.
Unbelievable.
In Philadelphia, the district attorney, Larry Krasner, Krasner, who is a way over left communist, he called for hunting down ICE agents.
Okay, so a George Soros-backed district attorney is facing scrutiny and backlash after vowing to hunt down federal immigration agents as city leaders move to curb ICE operations. Speaking during a morning event outside City Hall tied to newly unveiled ICE Out, it's called ICE Out legislation, District Attorney Larry Krasner sharply criticized immigration and customs enforcement ICE Out legislation. Really? This is a small bunch of this is this guy saying this. This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are, Krasner said. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down, oh my God, he's a telephone tough guy. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities, we will find who you are, and we will achieve justice. They're not hiding. Krasner made the remarks as Philadelphia City Council members Kendra Brooks and Rue Landau introduced a sweeping package of bills aimed at sharply limiting how ICE can operate within the city limits. The proposed legislation would bar ICE agents from using city-owned property, restrict cooperation between city agencies and federal immigration authorities, prohibit data sharing, and limit agents' access to public facilities, including libraries, shelters, and health centers.
They'll need a federal warrant to go to the bathroom.
Oh, my God.
This would be appropriate if this was a foreign entity
coming in, right.
These are people from the U.S. government enforcing U.S. law, as a result of an order by the U.S. president.
This just doesn't look legal. Well, as I'm reading this, it just doesn't seem like this is legal.
That probably is not. It'll probably be struck down, but it'll take a little while to do it. Now, horrible. There is, however, political revenge and retribution. In New York State, the left, the bad guys, are challenging in primaries Democrats who are not socialists.
A new generation of socialist-style Democrats is mounting primary challenges against House incumbents in New York, hoping to catch some of the far-left momentum. That's the proper word right there. Catch the far-left momentum that propelled Zohran Mamdani to the New York, what do we call him? Nightmares office. Momentum, that's the draft. And like in racing, there's momentum, right? When a guy is in front, they get behind that guy that's going really fast in front, and the guy that wants to pass him gets behind him, and that's called drafting, and he doesn't have any coefficient of drag on him because the front, and then all of a sudden he goes around and beats him. That's what they're trying to do. They're drafting this guy. On the onslaught of Mamdani's challenges highlights the growing ideological divide in the Democratic Party and an insurgent energy driving it leftward. Daniel Goldman, a two-term Democrat in Congress, faces multitude primary challenges in New York. 10th congressional district, which encompasses Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn. Brad, so that's what they're doing. These guys are going and they're going to try to take over. And they're far left, and we got to take a break. I'm getting yelled at in my ear.
Well, it's about time that the Democrats are eating their own.
Right.
And that this momentum of Mamdani is coming back and biting them where.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but maybe someone's going to win. It's going to get even worse. Not for long, though. Not for long. We're going to have to dig out of this thing in a year or two, but who knows? All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about other stuff that Dick Morris has got in his head.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC.
The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Go on, Dick. You're on. What show is this?
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Donald Trump said that America could become a nation of millionaires through his savings accounts. The Trump savings accounts are designed to democratize investment, and it permits...
It's a stock ownership allowing today's children to accumulate anywhere between $175,000 to $700,000, depending on how much supplementary money is put into the account by the time they reach 18. By the time these kids reach 30, they could have as much as $1 million. We can be a nation of millionaires, and these accounts can and should replace most welfare programs in 20 years. Think about how rich 20 and 30-year-olds would get. Think about how rich 20 and 30-year-olds would get if they could put 10% of their payroll tax money into an index fund accounts like this. There'd be multi-millionaires, but the far left hates this idea of all Americans becoming stock owners because they hate capitalism, and they can no longer complain about wealth inequality. American companies, this is next, companies set up for a Trump account. This is great. At the Trump account summit yesterday, which we attended, one of the highlights was the number of firms that pledged to deposit money into these accounts. Visa will launch new credit cards that issue cashback rewards directly to the designed Trump accounts of eligible children. We would warn the president that the credit card prices controls could imperil these reward programs. Axios reports that employers who have promised to match $1,000 in federal seed money for the children of their employees now include J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Bank of New York Mellon, BlackRock, Intel, Charles Schwab, Steak and Shake, Robinhood, SoFi, Coinbase, Russell Investment Groups, and other investment companies institute. Not a bad start, especially with billionaires like Michael Dell and Ray Dalio also making big early commitments. Even pop star Nicki, how do you know how you say that name, Minaj, said she will deposit money into her young fans' accounts. This is great. You know, people getting on board, citizens.
Yeah. This is the opposite of welfare. And it's incredible. It's using our capitalist system to replace welfare benefits.
It's just changing the mindset of so many young people now. They're not thinking, oh, what can you give me? Give me. They're thinking, wow, I have an account. I can make some money. When I'm 30, 40, I could be a millionaire and go on and on. How long do we have left, guys, before we have to break? 2 minutes. So
Trump also says that the U.S. should have the lowest interest rates in the world. He argued that the tariff revenue has strengthened the U.S. economy and should allow the country to have the lowest interest rates in the world. Trump said tariffs are generating billions in revenue while reducing trade imbalances. He also suggested that the U.S. has been overly generous to trading partners, saying other countries benefit from access to the U.S. market from lower interest rates that exist in their countries because of U.S. economic strength. The Fed should substantially lower interest rates now, adding that America's financial and economic position warrants lower rates than any other country. So look at Donald Trump's vision. Low interest rates because all the capital is focused in the United States. And as more money comes into the U.S. for foreign investment, we're able to lower them further. And then kids not needing welfare and not needing food stamps and coming in through these Trump accounts. And it's an amazing future that he's building up here.
You know, just like Roxana's on the rocks topic, it was great how Trump, you know, is doing what he's doing. He's just changing the world right now. So listen, we're going on a break. Everyone go have a cup of tea. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Robin Hood.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. You know, in today's show, we're offering a glimpse of the future, that young kids don't need welfare because they have investment accounts funded by the federal government and matched by private companies.
We're like Chef of the future.
Yeah. And amazing what's changing. One of the things that's going on is the Robin Hood Company is seeking a role in SpaceX's highly anticipated initial public offering, aiming to sell shares directly to retail investors. The trading app is competing with major Wall Street banks for access to SpaceX stock that could be offered to individual investors through Robinhood's IPO access platform, which allows users to buy shares at IPO price before trading begins in the open market. SpaceX is considering setting aside a significant portion of its IPO shares for retail buyers, potentially reshaping one of the largest public offerings ever distributed.
It's amazing.
If successful, Robinhood's involvement would mark another step in its effort to give everyday investors access to high-profile IPOs traditionally reserved for institutions, and would underscore the growing influence of retail traders on Wall Street.
That's so beautiful. So Trump works to cut data centers' electric costs. President Trump and major tech companies are attempting to change the narrative around data centers as rising electricity costs linked to AI infrastructure faces growing local opposition and increasingly becoming a political liability. Both the White House and tech industry appear keen to limit the fallout from data centers with initiatives to bring down electricity prices and recast the sprawling facilities as community players willing to pay their fair share. While the Trump administration, has been broadly supportive of data centers, including through efforts to fast-track their construction going forward that support may have limitations. We are going to embrace data centers, but not at the price of raising costs for consumers, a senior White House said. So if you want to invest and build data centers, you've got to do it in the right way, the way that is not going to pass that cost onto consumers, this guy said. So good for him. So
heart attacks, deaths are down by 1/3.
You know what I'm having right now? I just went to make some tea and I put some heart stuff, the beet things that what's her name talks about.
We had dinner last night with my best friend, a guy named Paul Feinstein.
And Martha.
And
The Rock.
And The Rock. Yeah, but I mentioned Paul because he's had bypass surgery and he had his aorta replaced.
He's doing great.
He's 83 years old.
Look great.
And you just meet people all over the place who should be dead, but are not because of unbelievable medical advances.
It's so great. A groundbreaking study holds heartening news. That's a good word you used there, Dick. Heartening news for older Americans. Since the mid-1990s, the numbers of seniors who suffered a heart attack or died from one dropped dramatically. Evidence that campaigns to prevent heart attacks and improve patient care are paying off. 4 signs your heart is quietly failing. The efforts have focused on lifestyle changes, including adoption of healthy eating habits and getting more exercise. They have also helped patients reduce their blood pressure and cholesterol, 2 key contributors to heart attacks. Hospital care is also better now than it was in the 90s, said the lead researcher, Dr. Harlan Krumholtz, a professor of cardiology. Patients who arrive at the hospital with a heart attack are now treated within minutes, using procedures to open blocked arteries rather than the hour it used to take, he noted. And more patients are leaving the hospital with prescriptions for blood pressure, drugs, aspirin, and statins, which help prevent repeat heart attack. I got to tell you, one of the things is when you wake up in the morning, you don't have coffee, you don't brush your teeth, you don't do anything. You have some water and lemon, room temperature water. Let your body realize that it's going through its thing and cleans your intestines. It's the way to do it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that, we're going to start talking about health every once in a while. All right, go to the next one, Dick.
While we're talking about health, I want to give everyone a briefing on what's going on in the midterm elections, particularly in the Senate. The basic asset for Republicans and the problem for Democrats is that Republicans have knocked out all of the remaining Democrats from states that voted for Trump all 3 times he was on the ballot. A group of 25 states that accounts for half of all the Senate seats. Democrats either have to start winning in reddish states again over time or essentially sweep all of the Senate seats in blue and purple states. So that's significant. Every single one of the Democrats who had Senate seats and come from states that Trump won all 3 times in 16, 20, and 24 are now out of office. The easy pickings have been collected. Despite the Republicans defending 22 of the 35 seats being contested this November, only a pair of those are in states where Democrats are currently very competitive. Maine, which consistently votes Democrat for president, but also has the only Republican senator from a Harris 1 state, Susan Collins.
Oh, God.
And North Carolina, which consistently votes Republican for president, but often elects Democrats in the statewide races. So even though we have a 6-seat majority in the Senate, there are really only 2 seats that are in serious jeopardy, Collins and North Carolina, Tom Tillis. And if we win those, we're fine. Even if we lose one and win one, we're still fine. One of the negative things going on is that John Ossoff from Georgia, one of the candidates elected when they stole the election in Georgia, is now a toss-up race. And he is the most radical, crazy communist senator you can imagine. And we have to take him on. We have to defeat him. Despite Republicans defending 22 of 35 seats being contested. So only a pair of those are seats that are very competitive, Maine and North Carolina. And the result is we should win the Senate fairly easily. And we'll have more information about the House, particularly with polling that are in the field now that I'll brief you on when I get the results. Now, the House Republicans have proposed the panacea, the model of all election reform bills. And if this passes, it's a revolution in the way elections are conducted in the country. House Republicans unveiled a sweeping elections reform bill that would mandate long-sought requirements like presenting photo ID when voting and citizenship verification to register to vote. They're calling it the Make Elections Great Again Act. And the bill is led by House Administration Committee Chair Brian Steele and marks an evolution of election reform legislation that House Republicans have crafted in previous Congresses. It would do the following: require photo ID to vote in all federal elections in all states. Require photo ID to vote. Require citizenship verification to register. Citizenship verification to register. Allow mail-in voting only until the close of the polls themselves. No more mail-in ballots 3 days later.
Unless it's military.
You're right. Mandate clean voting rolls. That is, ones where you check who really lives there and who's still alive.
Right.
Paper ballots only. Paper ballots only. Enough with these voting machines that somehow miraculously produce Democratic margins. Paper ballots only. And ban ballot harvesting. In addition to requiring photo ID when casting a ballot and citizenship verification, the bill implements restrictions on how states administer and maintain their election system. It would require mail-in ballots to be received by the close of polls on Election Day to be counted, making an exception for members of the military overseas. Several states currently allow mail-in ballots to be counted if they're received up to a certain point before Election Day.
To a point after Election Day.
As long as they're postmarked by Election Day. This bill would require states to use auditable paper ballots for a federal election. Auditable.
What does
paper
that mean?
Ballot,
you could audit them. Got it.
For federal elections.
Got it.
Paper ballots. Vast majority of ballots are already cast on paper, but 98% of the votes cast on paper ballots in the presidential election. But this would bring it down to congressional level as well. And ballot harvesting, the practice of collecting contemplated ballots and delivering them to polling centers, would also be prohibited for anyone who is not an immediate family member or a caregiver of a voter. It would also prohibit a person from distributing or delivering more than 4 mail-in ballots at a time. So this concept goes on. The Democrats are going through nursing homes or Indian reservations
and bring 1,000 ballots.
1,000 ballots and saying, they trusted me to deliver these.
Or that ballot box, what do they call it? The drop box?
Yeah, the drop boxes.
Yeah.
That would end completely. Now, Trump has warned Minnesota, the mayor of Minnesota, to drop sanctuary status for his city. Trump said he's playing with fire.
He's fry in a frying pan.
Yeah, and Fry, the mayor,
Jacob
said,
Fry.
the job of our police is to keep people safe, not enforce federal immigration laws. I want them protecting homicides, not hunting down a working dad who contributes to Minneapolis and is from Ecuador. That's all fine. But the fact is that by reducing the number of illegal immigrants in the United States, Trump has dramatically cut the crime rate, dramatically cut the homicide rate, and really laid the basis for cracking down on welfare fraud.
But they don't care about facts.
The most wonderful thing that's happening in the world right now is that Cuba may go democratic, I mean, with a small d. President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order that would impose a tariff on any goods from countries that sell or provide oil to Cuba, a move that could further cripple an island plagued already by a deepening energy crisis. The order would primarily put pressure on Mexico, a government that's acted as an oil lifeline for Cuba. and has consistently voiced solidarity with the U.S. adversary, even as President Claudia Sheinbaum sought to build a strong relationship with Trump. This week has been marked by speculation that Mexico could slash oil shipments to Cuba under mounting pressure from Trump to distance itself from the Cuban government. This is the end of Cuba, and as
they know it, as
a communist country, and the idea of sanctions on any country that gives oil to Cuba and really going after them, I think, is terrific, and thank God this is happening.
On the heels of Donald Trump's assertion that UK's handover of the Chagos Island was an act of great stupidity, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has officially withdrawn the enabling legislation.
This goes to the base in Diego Garcia.
Right.
That's a key U.S. base in the Indian Ocean. And the crazy, ridiculous left-wing Prime Minister of Britain was just going to hand it over to the natives on that island.
Right.
And close the U.S. base. And now Starmer, the Prime Minister, has been pressured out of it. China lives off fossil fuels, and it's important that we understand that.
The statistical review of world energy reports that coal accounted for 58% of China's primary energy consumption in late 24. Oil was at 20% and natural gas at 10%. If our math is right, that's almost 90% of China's energy coming from fossil fuels, and everything else, nuclear, hydroelectric, solar, wind, and other renewables, accounting for just 12%. China burns 20 times the combined consumption of the 27 member states of the European Union. Since 2000, China has tripled its coal consumption. Every greenhouse gas reduction in the Western world has been more than offset several times by what the Chinese have produced. Beijing officials are no doubt laughing behind the backs of gullible Westerners who believe that Beijing is committed to green energy while they burn more coal than ever. You want to go to the phones, Dick?
Yep.
Let's go to Eduardo. Hello, Eduardo. Do we have Eduardo? How about Mike? Who do we have on the phone? Anyone there, Matt? How about Eduardo? Okay, let's go to Teddy. Hey, Teddy.
How you doing? Okay, this is my first time calling.
Okay.
Let me clarify a couple of things. I'm a centrist Democrat. I hate the left. I don't care for Mandani at all. He's going to ruin the city. I don't care for the far right. I don't care for a number of things that Trump does. And any Republican who disagrees with him, you classify them, you and your partner, as a rhino. I like Senator Tillis, and too bad Senator Howard Baker, may he rest in peace. If he was around, I know what he would feel about your President Trump. I don't care for Trump. Sure, he's a lot of talk. In the meantime, you have...
Tell me how you feel.
Yeah,
a lot of talk.
Just
like
a minute.
He talks
in
about,
the meantime,
he talks about cutting inflation. He's cut it to basically zero.
Immigration, the borders.
Unemployment. He's brought it down to under 3%. He talks about stopping illegal immigration. He shut it down completely.
So what do you think there, Teddy? What do you think of that?
In the meantime, over 10,000 Iranians have been killed, probably more. And he keeps on saying, I sent this an armada. What are you waiting for? For another 30,000 people to be gassed?
Because if you're not hysterical about that and you think about what's going on with Iran, it's very difficult to accomplish regime change in a country of 93 million people, many of whom do not want the regime to change. It would involve the U.S. in a long-term war, a long-term battle. This would not be quick, like Maduro or like
the people wanted Maduro out.
This would not be quick, and Trump is to be credited for not starting a war there, and put the armada nearby. use it to do strikes on Iran and do them, try to kill the leadership of the Revolutionary Guards, try to kill Khomeini, try to take the regime over.
Now, Teddy, let me ask you a question. You do realize, hold on one second, you do realize he doesn't want anyone to die, this Trump guy. He doesn't, so you do realize that, right? He's trying to stop people from dying, but he can't stop every country. What do you think?
Ukrainians that have been dying. Who started that war? It was Putin, and he kisses his tuchus. Trump
You think he kisses his butt?
And you don't say a damn word about it. You can hear me? Okay? You're talking to a math teacher. I'm an intelligent guy, and I know a lot more than you do. Okay? Putin has gone over Trump and walked right over him. He's never going to end the war.
How is that? How do you think he walked over Trump? I don't understand.
Well, it's nice to find that there's somebody who believes that Trump is too extreme.
No, but how did he walk all over Trump? Or who walked over who? Putin walked over Trump, you said?
Putin is never going to end the war with Ukraine.
It does seem like that, doesn't it?
He seizes all of it. And you refuse to acknowledge that. And Lindsey
I'm acknowledging it right now.
Thing.
Yeah.
I believe you that Putin doesn't want to do this thing, but, you know, what's Trump going to do?
Well, that's my point. That's my point. He's all talk. He yells at Zelensky and bullies him, and he says, "Oh, Zelensky doesn't want peace." Why else did he threaten?
He bullies both sides because he wants to force a settlement. And
why else did he threaten Putin? Because he's afraid of
that
Putin.
In the best way he can.
He's not afraid of Putin at all. He just can't go in there and mow down.
There is a new lawsuit to punish.
All right, thank you, Teddy.
Indra?
There's a new lawsuit to punish big tobacco for social media marketing to kids. You know, I was one of the key people in the earlier lawsuits against tobacco companies that stopped the marketing to children. And on Tuesday, the first bellwether trial against social media companies began in Los Angeles, serving as the initial test case for many more pending lawsuits. Meta, TikTok, Snap, and YouTube face more than 3,000 lawsuits in California alone. Startling evidence is already coming to light. One Meta employee message exchange compares Instagram to drugs and slot machines. Oh my God, y'all, IG is a drug. This is a landmark case. Never before have we been able to see this evidence. To reach this stage of litigation with a social media company where courts and the public can finally see for themselves the choices these companies have made when it comes to minors. Past cases were dismissed outright because of the law from 1996 called Section 230 that gives Internet platforms immunity for harm caused by third-party content they host. But this new wave of cases takes a novel approach. Rather than alleging that harm to victims was caused by content victims were exposed to, they argue that the harm was caused by the product design features of the companies themselves. These lawsuits do not blame bad content or too much screen time, dismantling the idea that parents are to blame for their kids being online too much. Instead, they claim the defendants engineered their platforms to be addictive and failed to warn users about their addictive potential. The features designed to foster addiction that are at issue are the infinite scroll, autoplay recommendation, algorithms that send minors down rabbit holes, push notifications, and likes, all of which create addictive, dopamine-driven feedback loops to keep a user engaged for as long as possible.
All right.
This is truly the future. And it's really you combine this with the Trump accounts for kids, and you really see major changes in play here.
Well, I didn't get a lot of that because I'm still thinking about Teddy. So Teddy, we're going to take a break, but you call back again next week. This is good. Come at us all you want. You know, we'll try to figure out where we are. All right, so we got to take a break, and bye, Teddy.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC.
The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You're on, Dick Morris.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group.
All right, let's go to George about Minnesota, I think. Right, George?
Yes, that's right. I've been a Trump supporter and a Republican all my life, and I'm very disgusted by what's been going on for the past 2 weeks. That Trump is caving in to these rioters in Minnesota. Dick, you said that we're just going to go into the jails and get those criminals. Right. I don't want just the criminals to be gone. I want all the illegal immigrants to be deported.
Yeah, but you know what it is, George?
I think that's fine, George, but we have buildings in Minnesota which are called jails, which house 1,350 illegal immigrants who shouldn't be in the country.
So let's get them
first.
Go
into those jails, drag those people out, and then pay attention to what's going on in the street.
That's right. You know why? He made a deal with this guy, the Tampon Tim guy, right? He said, you let our guys go into the jail and peacefully get these people and get them out of the country. We'll get out of the streets for now. For now. He's not 100% out of the street. And I think that was smart. I didn't like it at first when I first heard it, but I think it's a smart move for now. What do you think, George?
I'm hearing a lot of Republicans saying that we should just get the criminals out and not the rest of them. We cannot have a situation where Biden brings in 12 million immigrants and we only get rid of maybe a couple of million.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, but come on. Trump has gotten rid of 3 million people.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It's hard to believe
over a period of a year. And he solved this huge problem. And what the Democrats are doing is trying to force him to go out in the street and round people up so that they can dump on them.
Well, I think part of these Democrats is to use their useful idiots. The more ICE is on the street, the more the leaders of these rioting people are saying, look at this, it's Nazis and all this other business, just to get the useful idiots, divide and conquer type of thing. I think that's where that's at. But Trump's doing the right thing. He'll get the ICE to go into the prisons, do that first. And everyone illegal is going to end up leaving, or he's going to figure it out. Anyway, thank you, George.
How
appreciate
are they going to do it in the future if they can't do it now?
What do you mean? He's going to get the people out of the prisons now, and he's going to do it hopefully without a lot of rioting, and then after that, then we see what goes on. One thing at a time. What's that going to take? A week, 2 weeks to get 1,300 people from prisons?
No,
it's not.
Longer, but yeah.
But they're in one place. Not one place, but they're in a facility. There'll be a lot.
Robert Kennedy just spoke about Donald Trump's achievements, and I think it's worth quoting him at some length. He said, I think this is the most transparent administration in my lifetime, and probably in American history, Kennedy said. We've never had a president who does 2 or 3 press conferences a day and answers any question and doesn't make restrictions on them and has long-form interviews with people. So I'm proud to be a member of this administration. I'm proud of the other members of the team. I'm constantly awestruck by the amount of talent that's in the room, the amount of commitment to make our country better, the courage that people show in really tackling vested interests. Corporations are overreaching, and how much we've gotten done in 1 year. Kennedy contended that the lone reference point for impact Trump has had is FDR. He said, I don't think objectively you can name another administration, maybe the first 100 days of FDR's administration. But other than that, I don't think there's anybody who's come even close to competitive with the amount of just, pure impact that President Trump has had on the country. And that's a statement by the nephew of John Kennedy.
We met Kennedy a while back at Socrates in the City.
Yeah.
Metaxas, he's great, Eric, right? And Kennedy was not interested in Trump or being in administration. It was right a couple of weeks before. And he said, no, there's no way. It's not my thing. And somehow Trump reeled him in with a little help from Dick. And he loves him now. Look how he changed. You remember how his attitude? It wasn't a horrible attitude. He didn't hate Trump. He just said, he's not for me. I'm not going to deal with him. Let's not talk about me going in the administration.
I think that the real change that happened in Trump's relationship with Kennedy, which I helped marriage broker, is that Trump extended his anti-establishment stuff, his anti-deep state stuff, to deal with the medical industry and the insurance industry and the companies that Bobby Kennedy had opposed.
Right.
And Trump broadened his agenda to talk about the stuff that really interested Kennedy. And he came over to Kennedy, and he really did a great job of doing that. And the results have been enormous. This marriage between Trump and Kennedy, which a lot of people, including me, were wondering if it would last more than a couple of weeks.
Yeah, right.
Has been so transformative in American politics because it's taken the deep state and attacked it where it lives.
Well, also, Kennedy, right when you say Kennedy, you think of Ted Kennedy, far left guy and, really outrageous. He's not this guy. Kennedy Jr. is not that far left guy that's yelling and screaming. He's a class act, I didn't know that about him. I didn't really know him. I just thought, in general, Kennedy, forget about it. He's pretty good. He's doing all right. Hey, listen, why don't we go to, do we have time, guys? What do we have? So let's go to Eduardo. And, hey, Eduardo, how are you?
Yeah, Doug, Mr. Morris, I got to comment out. What's wrong with these judges that are getting in trouble? This New York Democratic judge helped an illegal get out the back of the courthouse. Yeah. And there's even a Detroit judge who was money-laundering for her bar and Ford Expedition. Looks like the judges are not.
Was that the guy that was in her house in her?
Yeah.
Was that the guy that was renting her cottage or something?
Yeah. Well,
this was in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy was in New York City. His name is last name Mora. Yeah. She let him out the back door.
Right, yeah. They got her, though, didn't they arrest her?
They got her.
They got him, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
They got him and they got her.
That was a her. The judge was a her, right? Yes.
Yeah,
the judge was her, right.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed to say ridiculous.
That. Well, you're dealing here with an effort by the Democrats to undermine the rule of law and to use this power, this insurgency, this revolution, really, to stop the government from cleaning out the population. And it's a fundamental change. Donald Trump has changed America by changing Americans. And he's gotten 3 million people out of the country. He's going to get millions more. And that has so changed our politics. It's changed our midterm elections. It's changed the crime situation in America. It's changed our school performance. It's changed everything.
When you think about him, it's really, when you really simplify this, it's just common sense what he's doing. All the things he's doing is kind of like you look at what's going on. It's common sense to get a guy that's going to hurt someone in the street, and you go and you grab him and you throw him out of the country. That's what it is. It's what we needed. A guy with common sense. He's brilliant. A lot of people said he's not smart. I know this guy very well. Listen, I work around at Mar-a-Lago with this guy walking around, and I've been building houses and doing things all my life and doing the fancy paint. He knows everything, and he doesn't miss a trick. We're walking, he goes, "Hey, Doug, what do you think of that thing over there with the crack?" He goes, "You know what I think? That when the ground settled, it did this." And I go, "And I think you're right." And then he'll ask me about something on the door, and I go, and he was pretty cool with me. He'd go, "What do you think? Should we keep that or get rid of it?" And I would say, depending on the look, and I would leave it, and we could clean it. But he knew everything about cement and stone and plaster and moldings. He doesn't miss a trick.
Illegal immigrants.
And shoes. He had Vance and Rubio in the Oval Office, and they were talking about very important stuff. Vance was telling the story, and he goes, Hold on 1 second. Hold on, JD, wait a minute. Come here." He goes and gets a catalog, and he goes, "I want you guys, you can't wear any shoes in the White House. You represent me." I mean, he looks at everything, this guy. Anyway, I think we have to take a break. Am I right? Okay, let's take a break, and when we get back, Lemonade gets arrested. We'll see when we get back.
This is the Dick Morris Show on 77 WABC.
The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. A couple of weeks ago, this former CNN anchor, Don Lemon, was arrested after reporting on an anti-ICE protest at a church in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Well, you know what they say, Dick. When you get a lemon, you make lemonade.
The protesters disrupted a service at City's Church, where an immigration customs official allegedly serves as a pastor, by pouring in and chanting "Out ICE" on January 18th. The Trump administration sought to charge 8 people, including Mr. Lemon, citing a law that protects people seeking to participate in a service at a house of worship. This law was originally designed to stop people from harassing women going into to clinics for abortions.
Oh.
And originally to stop people saying that if a person is going into a house of worship, you can't obstruct them. And Trump is using that to go after Lemon, and it's a good move.
Yeah, I never liked that guy anyway. Creepy dude.
The Republican Party in the Congress is trying to ban foreign remittances by welfare recipients. A newly introduced Senate bill from Ohio, by Bernie Moreno, would prohibit anyone receiving welfare from sending money overseas through remittance transfers, a move aimed at ensuring taxpayer-funded benefits are spent inside the U.S. and not exported abroad. The legislation, titled the Stopping Transfers of Public Funds Abroad Act, would require anyone applying for or receiving federal welfare to sign a written declaration stating that they will not send money through the remittance transfers while receiving benefits. Under the proposal, anyone who violates that declaration would face a civil fine of up to $100,000. The bill directs federal agencies that administer public assistance programs to enforce the restriction during both initial applications and reapplications for benefits. Recipients would be required to certify under penalty of perjury that they are not transferring funds via remittance services while receiving aid.
So it's a twofer.
Yeah, and basically it's cutting off the flow of welfare money to extremist and Islamic organizations in other parts of the country.
They're going to still do it, but a lot are going to get caught.
And it really stops the flow that's been going on, where someone registers for welfare and then uses the benefits for welfare to send to his friends overseas who are left-wing guerrillas.
You know, Dick, you're a pollster. I wonder if there's a way for us to know how many people, this just seems to me like it's Minnesota, Minneapolis, Michigan, kind of seems that way. How many of these people doing this stuff came in directly from Obama? Remember when he was shipping people to...
Yeah, a huge number.
I wonder if there's a way for us to figure out that number.
Yeah, there is.
There is.
Particularly from Somalia.
Yeah, right, that's exactly
where
what
90,000 people were let in.
That's a lot of
they
people.
They became the core of the left in the U.S.
And they went to Michigan and Minnesota?
Yeah.
That's it?
Right, and the federal government deliberately sent them to different states to change those states.
Sure.
Obama
the
did
district
this.
thing too, also, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of it?
Well, part of it, but it's also states, not just Senate, not just House.
Mm-hmm.
And they targeted sending the illegal immigrants, particularly from left-wing countries, to states in the U.S. and the Midwest to try to flip them into Democratic states.
And speaking of that, what's the story with Inbred Omar? Is she getting in trouble, or what's really happening here?
With her husband.
The inbred husband, the father, husband, brother thing?
Right. And it turns out that he has
cousin mother
set up a money management company and has made millions of dollars and has 25 million under management, but no record of who they are and no record of any real management of funds. So nobody knows where the money's coming from. Nobody knows.
How come no one's going to jail? This is what I want to know. What's with Hillary walking around?
Because it's just in the beginning. We just discovered that.
Yeah, but if the midterms come, it's over. Things have to happen before November. People have to get injured.
Well, I think they are. I think Oman is on her way out.
Inbred,
yeah, whatever her name
Can't
is.
believe you just called her that. That's like Roxana cursed before. And she goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just cursed. It's Sunday. It's God's day, and I cursed."
In the big, beautiful bill that Trump passed, there is a provision that could really completely change America in fundamental ways. States can decide to opt into a federal program for school choice aid. And if the state decides to opt in, anyone who lives there can donate, can get a tax credit of $1,700 for payments to private and church schools and get a dollar-for-dollar payback on federal taxes. So it's basically a method of funneling a vast amount of money out of the public school system and toward charter schools and other private schools. And the governors are allowed to say yes or no. And there are 27 governors now who have said yes and who are channeling money now to charter schools in the states. The governors who say no are effectively admitting that they care more about the unions than they do about the poor kids in their own states. Pathetic. 2 more states joined yesterday, New Hampshire and Colorado. Every Republican governor, except for Phil Scott of Vermont, has opted in. Colorado Governor Jared Polis is the lone Democrat. Governor Glenn Youngkin brought Virginia in before he left office, but its successor, Democrat Abigail Spanberger, may try to rescind the action. It's amazing that many of the same states and governors that lap up every penny in fraudulent welfare claims turn their nose up on free money to better educate their children. Taxpayers will be able to donate up to $1,700 to private and church schools and get every dollar back on their federal taxes.
Good. This is a great story right here. It's unbelievable. California draws closer to car mileage tax. It figures. This is what they got to do. First, mandate on electric cars, and then what else are going to do? Introduced in February 2025, the bill directs state agencies to advance implication of mileage-based tax and return to the legislature with recommendation on how much to charge and how the tax would be collected. While the bill does not impose a mileage tax today, it's implicitly moves the state beyond exploration and towards education.
Towards execution.
Yeah, right.
So this is
I
the
said
future.
you're right, execution.
This is what California is planning to do, and they're paving the way for it now. They're going to charge you for each mile you drive, like you're a taxi cab.
God.
And there'll be no such thing as a private car and taking your own gas and deciding to travel somewhere.
Between GPS and North Star and all this other stuff, they'll know exactly where you are. Just like you said, like the Uber drivers. They know if they go off the path a little bit, everyone knows where they're going. Let's take another call. Who do we got, Matt? Hello? Let's go to Patrick. Hello, Patrick?
Remember when I implored you to tell President Trump to deport Mamdani because he believed in international law instead of constitutional law?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you would have done that and Trump would have listened, a lot of these problems with Mamdani would have been avoided.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have been in office because he would have been deported.
Yeah, but the problem is that he would become a hero. He would become
like a martyr, right?
And he would get tremendous popularity. Trump is absolutely right for the way he's handling Mamdani. He's giving him enough rope to hang himself. And the reason you haven't seen more of his hanging is that he still has money left over from when New York husbanded its resources and didn't spend them on all kinds of garbage.
You know what, Dick?
Now he started the garbage again, and Trump is going to cut off his flow of money. And at that point, he could move against Mamdani.
Next week, let's figure out what kind of money they have left in the coffers in Manhattan and talk about that. That's a good idea.
Right.
What do you think? You think there's something in there?
It was about $10 billion the last time I checked. And I got to look at the controller's report to see what it is. But Trump is waiting until that moment when Mamdani comes up and asks for more water to be able to stop it.
More air.
And
you know what? I think he's going to give him a grace period, too. He's going to give him another 6 months after he doesn't have any money. I think so. I think he's really going to let it hurt. And he should. And we live there.
Give him enough rope to hang himself.
Right. And then some.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. We'll get some callers.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Doug, Donald Trump and his sons are now suing the IRS over a data leak.
So President Trump, his two eldest sons, and his family business sued the Internal Revenue Service and the U.S. Treasury Department over alleged leaks of their confidential tax information. The plaintiffs seek at least $10 billion in damages, according to the lawsuit in Miami federal court. The IRS wrongly allowed a rogue, politically motivated employee to leak private and confidential information about President Trump. You think there's a consequence for that guy, too, that employee? Donald Trump and his family and the Trump Organization to the New York Times, ProPublica, and other left-wing news outlets. This is who they leaked it to. And a spokesman from Trump's legal team said, is that guy, can he be implicated?
Yeah, sure is.
The guy that leaked it? Yeah. On his way out, but is there a legal situation? Oh, good.
It's illegal for the IRS to leak taxpayer information.
The IRS.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what the guy worked for the IRS.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Right.
Okay, you want to go to the phones, Dick?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We were going to go to Richard. Hello, Richard.
Hey, good afternoon. In regard to savings accounts for children, 65 years ago, when I was in the second grade, the public school I went to had a program through Bowery Savings Bank. Right, you put money in an envelope every Thursday.
Oh yeah,
and they deposit it in the bank.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
It was a widespread thing. My mother, the teacher said, "Bring in a dime or a quarter." My mother gave me $1. I said, "No, you can't do that. It's going to be a dime or a quarter." But nowadays, $1 it would be $11 to make up that dollar today.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. What safeguards are there that anchor babies don't get in on the Trump accounts? And isn't this something that encourages anchor babies?
Yeah.
If it's not done right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that, and we have to look at that. That is a great point.
Wow.
Nobody's mentioned that. Nobody's thought of it.
And we're going to see him this week, so maybe we mention that. That's good. Very good.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well,
Okay,
thank you for
very
calling. Good.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we have Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good afternoon, guys. I really love your show. It's and I'm surprised, but I love it. But anyway, listen.
How about Teddy that yelled at us and we're idiots?
I was just going to say, thanks for not cutting Teddy off.
Why?
A lot of what he said. He was entertaining and he was right. I agree that Trump is kissing Putin's butt. Okay, you can't sugarcoat that in any way. It's like, what's the difference between Putin and Hitler? He started with Poland. He went to Sweden. He just, that's what he's doing. You can't negotiate with terrorists.
The difference between Khomeini and Hitler is nuclear weapons.
Well, okay, but we can't, just like he's backing down in Minnesota, and you can say he's not, but he's backing off in Minnesota. We've got to confront this, otherwise nothing's going to change. He's handing the midterms to the Democrats. No matter what you say, the price of food is too high. Everything that he's doing is not right. He should give Ukraine what they need to repel the invaders. They don't want to take over Russia, but they want to kick the Russians out of Ukraine. And he's not doing that. And perception is everything. I perceive him to be kissing Putin's ass. I mean, I just do.
I don't see that. I really don't. I don't see that. He doesn't want to go in with our guys on the ground. He's not going to do that. I don't see that. I don't see it. And what was the other thing? I forget, Dick. What was the other thing with Trump? There's definitely not kissing this guy's ass in any way.
Trump is negotiating with Zelensky and Putin.
I don't think there's a big negotiation going on.
In any of these negotiations, Trump has to often attack one side and then the other side. The fact of the matter, though, is that European aid, not primarily American aid, but European aid to reach Ukraine has given them tremendous edges on the battlefield.
I just don't see where he's kissing his butt. He just can't figure out how to make this happen.
Yeah.
What do you think he should do? Go in and blow the guy up? What do you think he should do?
No, I think he should arm Ukraine, give them enough that they can hurt the Russians on Ukrainian soil, not hurt the Russians in Russia, just enough to repel them. We're just giving Ukraine enough so that they can die slowly. I mean, how am I wrong?
Maybe you're not.
I think that
maybe you're not.
I think you could be wrong because of the risks of confrontation with Russia. You can beat Donald Trump and you can go crazy against Maduro and against other stuff. But you asked the question crucially. You said, what's the difference between Adolf Hitler and Vladimir Putin? And the answer to that question is nuclear weapons. And you have to be respectful of that. You have to understand that. And you have to give Trump some slack on it. And I think consonant with not having a war with Russia, he's doing the best job he can. And don't underestimate what Trump is doing to Putin. He's cut off oil shipments from Russia to anybody. Russia is essentially broke. The Russians are experiencing over 1 million casualties in the Ukraine, largely because of weapons that Europe and the U.S. is providing. And Putin is destroying Russia. He's destroying Ukraine too, but he's destroying Russia. Over 1 million casualties, closing in on 2 million.
And he's got mercenaries right now, right? Doesn't he?
Well, he tried to use mercenaries, but he had to stop.
Why?
Because they weren't any good. Because they would surrender at first blush.
The not very well read army.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to give Trump time on this. He was brash in saying he could solve the war
in one day.
But over 4 years, I think he's gonna. And I think the key thing was secondary sanctions on Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to cut off the flow of oil revenues to Russia from Europe. And to get Europe to start buying American gas and American oil.
How is this guy staying in the war, Putin?
And stop buying Russian gas. And by doing that, he's cut off the flow of funds to Putin. And I think that's going to ultimately reflect itself on the battlefield.
How is this guy staying in this fight, this Putin guy?
Because he runs a dictatorship and he
doesn't care.
Force everybody to do what he wants.
Wow.
And the dictatorship is backed by propaganda that tells people that Ukraine is the new Nazis and that they're the derivative of Hitler. And remember how they killed you during World War II.
Right.
And all of that stuff.
Do you think Trump is just hoping that the Russian people stand up to Putin?
No, it's
and then he can help them out, or no?
He's cutting off the money to Putin, and by oil sales, and he's ultimately starving Putin to death, and that's a slower process, but it's a true process, and I think it's going to work. I think we're going to solve this problem within a year or so, because Trump is going to Europe and stopping them from subsidizing Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that until Trump took action in the last couple of months, a vast amount of money was flowing from Europe to Putin and keeping him in office, keeping him sustained, keeping the war going. And Trump is cutting this off by secondary sanctions, by saying if you're India and you send oil you buy oil from Russia.
We're going to cut you off.
We're going to cut you off.
Yeah, right. Secondary sanctions. Well, anyway, it's been an honor here. I want to thank On the Rocks for her thing. Wasn't that great?
It was really a wonderful segment.
It's an honor to be here with you, Dick. So, everyone, see you later. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
No. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
No. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Dick Morris Show. You can hear The Dick Morris Show Sundays at noon. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.